in an OOPS to think which are my real world objects, and I will give you a I would say month. Every name is a class and every verb is a function, right? So break it down as much as possible and put it into separate components and then use those components, right? Now in this class I had used name, right? Suppose if you want to change name to first and last name, what I have to do? I have to just make change in that class, right? I have to just have to replace that with certain others and get and print. Everywhere I've used get data and print data, it would have automatically been included, right? That is the beauty of OOP. You don't have to go to each and every place, right? This is the first concept, which is encapsulation. Now I've missed many of syntax in that program, and I've missed purposely because I don't want to nitty-gritties of that, because people here don't know C++, right? But another principle that where I'm going to come over here is abstraction. Now that is one of another beauty of OOPS. What abstraction does is that to the outside world, because it's a component and you are using it a program. Now to the outside world, which information do you want to show to the outside world? Which information do you want to access to the outside world? Like suppose I've inputted PAN card number in person, and I don't want to outside of that class to use it. Then I modifiers like private public. So there are private public modifiers. So if I said okay, is it back? Right. Oops, everything is gone. That's fine. So let me just open another page. So for OOPS, we have discussed first what is encapsulation. Next is abstraction. Let's go. I'm just using any link because let's see what is fine. It is not. It is also not. Or I should just oops. So what I was talking about abstraction, I should go to the Java program itself. So this is a page actually. If you can see this is where all the documentation of Java is there. So since I'm surfing, yeah.
Start up the board also.
No, it's fine. That's fine. Okay. So this is where I think you can go get started with Java. This is a web page of Oracle, which has bought Sun Systems, which actually invented Java. Okay, so this is where you can cover the basics of Java and just read it through internet, or you have a book. I would recommend Data and Data for Java if you want to read it, but this is where you can get started easily. So here you can go through everything, how the Hello World program is there and the OOPS concepts and all, right? So this is where it is. So I will just use board. Now talked about what is abstraction. Abstraction is the class that I had created. there I'd use char name char address am I missing something here? There has been a lot of murmuring. You're not able to see? Should I make it big? Okay. I think I should go through that only. So let me write over here itself. Are you able to see it now? And all those functions, right? Now, as I said, I would just have I will have a persons array right. So we have talked about encapsulation. Now in abstraction, what I said was that we choose to which information can be shown to the outside world. Now in this case, if I do not mention something, that means private. Okay. And suppose I have public over here. Okay. Now in this case, what I can do, I can access person I. Okay, so in this case, because age is public, right, in the class, that means I can use it outside the class. So this statement is correct. This will not give me compilation error. But the next statement, because name is private, I cannot use it directly. So this is what is called abstraction. Now how this will help you? This will help you because do you know about APIs and libraries? APIs and libraries, do you know about it? So what happens is that when you use a software, okay, what they do is that they give you a library which is compiled library binary code and give you certain APIs. APIs means you have a class definition only. You don't have a class declaration only, not the definition. Now the third person who is using that uses just those functions, uses functions and just makes his program. Now suppose if you give this public int age to him, then he will be able to manipulate age in his program, which you do not want, because suppose it's a PAN card number or if it's a debit card number, then you will do not want him to change that. You want to have control in your own library, in your own code. You will not want to give them access to that, right? So that is why you have to make it private, so that it's not used like this outside. You will have to use the interfaces or the functions or the behaviors of that class to access it, which also you can choose to give it or not. So this is how you say abstraction. You are hiding information to the user. You are only saying, okay, this is the information that I don't want to use outside of that class, and this will provide you security. So this is the abstract. This is the second concept of OOPS, which is called abstraction. Okay. The third is, which is actually the most important and which increases in reusability, is inheritance. Now one of the beauty of OOPS is that you have created an object, right? Right? You have created a person object. Now what is a student? Student is also a person with some more attributes to it, right? The class name, roll number, etc. Right? You can use the person that you have created to create a student. You don't have to write everything, name, age, and everything like that stuff into that. So you can reuse it. What you do, you create a new class. You say name it student, okay, and then you say it is inherited from person. So it has many other things like modifiers and all. I'm skipping that part. But what I'm trying to say, when you do this, name, address, and age are automatically there in student. You only have to write its extra attributes, which is suppose int roll number, char class, or anything that you want, right? And you can give your own get data function. You had a get data in here in person class. You had a get data function over here, right? Where we used to see in the things, right? You can have its own get data, where you can call the person get data also, and then see in yours. Oh, screen class. So what does it do? What have we done? We have reused the older person class, right? We can create student, we can create employee, we can create everything out of it. So this is inheritance. You can have multiple inheritance also. From student, I can also say class 10 student, class 12 student, and add more attributes to it, right? Was it possible in procedural? The program that I showed you, because it has its data types at certain place. They were not reusable, right? So this is inheritance, and this the same function name. This is the base class. This is derived class. Derived student is derived from person, right? Here we are using the same function name. So if we create an object of student and call that dot get data, then function of this will get called, not that, because we have overridden it, right? So I missed identifier is public, so public needs to be get called for it to be doing it. But the thing is, this is called function overriding. So this is one of the other advantages of OOPS, right? I'm sorry, this thing is. So there are other things also. One of them is polymorphism. So polymorphism essentially means that the same thing can be used in different ways. Right? Same function name can be used in different function ways. The overriding that I showed, that can be used in different ways, right? Because suppose because its function name is same, right? And the student is inherited from person. So if I say student Sandeep and I say Sandeep dot get data, then that function will get called, not the base class function, right? Same function name. This is called overriding. This is kind of polymorphism. Operator overloading, function overloading, you know that stuff, right? That is polymorphism. That is also part of polymorphism. So this is how we make the coding easier. OOPS is to make coding easier. OOPS is to help you understand the code better. When you are working 40 GB code and you have not coded better, it will take about 1 month to understand that code itself, and that too with errors. But if you have programmed it correctly, you have used OOPS, you have used data encapsulation properly, you have used inheritance properly, if you have used abstraction properly, you will never encounter security and other problems, and it will make your code more easy. So this is what is OOPS in essential. So person who know OOPS, have they learned anything from it, or I have just repeated things? Sorry? Have you learned or not? Yes or no? Okay. Thanks. So we have got to oops. Now let's move over to Java. How much time do we have? 1 hour. That should be fine. So the course curriculum that I give you, have all of you read it, or is it still in between? The course curriculum, there is a bunch of papers that I gave you to read. Have everybody read it? Okay. Okay, since Java is an important prerequisite of Android and whole Android programming goes in Java, so I just showed you the page where you can go through Java and basic initial concepts of Java. You don't have to go through entire Java to get started. You just have to learn the basic syntax, how class is made, how oops is used in Java. Okay, nothing much. Then we'll move over to Android. So just brushing those concepts in 10 minutes Java, and then we'll move over to Android and how mobile programming is different from your normal conventional programming, that is desktop programming. There are so many things that you need to take care of in mobile programming, not particularly Android, but every mobile programming. Okay. So Java is a high level object oriented programming language. Java is a high level object oriented programming language. Now Java came into so first C was there. There were so many languages before that also, but the first procedural language which people started its profession was C. Then we moved to oops, that is C++. Then Java came into existence. So Java is a step ahead of C++. How is step ahead of C++? The person who knows C++, how easy is to write the UI program in C++? For where you have to show a window to print something in the window. How easy is it? How easy is it? Have you ever written such a program in C++? No, right? You have just written a program where the output is in console, right? So this is where C++ lacks. It doesn't have inbuilt libraries to form UI components, and it has many. And for a simple task, you have to write so much code. Java has all those libraries inbuilt. It has its inbuilt UI component libraries. It has inbuilt date libraries. It has inbuilt time libraries. It has inbuilt string libraries. In C++ you have char. Java has strings. You don't have to worry about how much it will go out. It will overflow or not. And string will take care of it. So Java is a step ahead of C++. There are no pointers in Java. There is no delete operator in Java. You don't have to worry about deleting or memory leak, because in Java there is a garbage collector which actually collects all things which have lost, all those variables which are out of scope. It collects all those memories. You just have to create them and forget about it. The only thing is that you have to use them only where you want. Suppose if it's used only in a function, if you create it globally, then it will not get deleted. It should be created in function, and then when the function goes out of scope, it will get deleted. So in Java, Java solely to ease the programmers to create UI, to make coding faster basically, right? And Java is a language which can work on every platform. Now in C++, if you create a UI, right? You create a UI, it works on Windows. It will not work on Linux. It will not work on Macintosh. In Java, if you create a UI, it will work on Linux also, it will work on Macintosh also. Why? JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So what Java does is, it runs its own virtual machine in every operating system. That virtual machine takes care of nitty-gritties of its own operating system. If it's running on Windows, it will take care of Windows. If it's running on Linux, it will take care of Linux. You have to just code above that virtual machine. You have to just code what the Java virtual machine understands, and it will take care of it rest of the things. So you are saved of all those hassles. If you have coded in Java, it will work on everywhere. It will work on everywhere because of Java virtual machine. That's the beauty of Java. But there is a drawback also of Java. What's the drawback? Does anyone know it? Right. So Java is slower than C++. Why is that? Okay, part of it, but the main why C++ is faster is that you have all the control. You can release memory when you want, right? If suppose you have coded better, there are no memory leaks, then a C++ program which is much faster in Java, because Java has to run its own background task. It will have to run garbage collector. It will have to there is a Java virtual machine which is an overhead itself in operating system, right? And the system and a big program, like I worked on Premiere Elements. Premiere Elements in Adobe is a video editing tool. Now video playing itself requires huge memory. Video editing requires much more larger memory than that. In a 2 GB machine, sometimes the application crashes because of lack of memory. Such is the memory consumption of that application. So you require exact control of memory, when to release it, when to not. Java will not provide that. So that is why those are coded in C++. So those which require high memory performance, exact memory control, those will be coded in C++. But for everything else, simple applications like UI applications, people have started to use Java. So that is why Java rose in popularity in such a big way when it was introduced, because ease of programming, its set of libraries, and independent of platform. Now Java, those who know C++, the coding of Java is similar to that. There also you have a class. You have a class like suppose I say person. The endings are also same. You can define data like I did there, same. You can define functions also, it's same. Everything, most of the things are same. If you know C++, picking up Java is very easy, because Java is a step ahead of C++. Okay, so I would like you guys to just go through the initial concepts of Java. Just try Hello World program from the link that I gave you, the getting started part of it. Just get a hang of it, how the coding is done in Java, how it is done, what are packages and all that stuff. I will not go into detail of it right now. We'll go it later when we will meet again, because Java is an essential part of Android. We have to just go through Java before going to Android. But before that, you also have to do some homework, because you can't learn Java in 1 week. You have to read it step by step. And because our main focus is on Android, we'll cover Java for the sake of Android. Okay. So now we move to our main thing, which is Android. So Android is a mobile operating system. iOS is also a mobile operating system. Symbian is also a mobile operating system. What are the differences? Okay, so I will just give a brief history of how mobile used to involve. When I was in college, I used to have a big mobile. There was an antenna on it. I can only dial numbers in it. I can only send SMS to it, and its UI was very small, black and white UI. It was just for receiving and sending calls at that point of time. Later it evolved. In that mobile itself, I could play games, but still in black and white. Then it again evolved again. I had a color screens, more control of it. Then there was a huge revolution in mobile phone. The simple button-based phones went to touch. Touch phones were introduced, and that revolutionized mobile industry. How was that possible? Because there was a major revolution in the hardware. You can put in a processor into a mobile, which was not possible earlier. The capabilities of mobile increased, so touch phones came in. Right, the Symbian, the Nokia is all Symbian. The earlier Nokia mobiles were Symbian. They started with black and white, then they went to color. Then touch also was also there, but it was Symbian. Then, because the capabilities of them increased, people realized that we can do much more things on mobile. So iOS was introduced, but although Android development started much earlier, but iOS was introduced first, and that revolutionized the market. What was the change that revolutionized the market? Ease of use, touch, much more capable devices, right? But what was the most important part of it was that they opened it as an SDK to the third-party developers. Earlier, we used to play apps in mobile which was provided by the operating system, Nokia or LG or something like that. Now, what iOS people had done was that they exported their SDK and told the third-party developers, okay, use this SDK and build apps for us for this mobile. And people started to use that, and there were so many apps in the market. They had to create a market for it, and they started gaining revenue for it, and developers also started gaining revenue for it, because they can now sell their mobiles to other people, and people also the companies also realized, okay, we can promote our things through these mobile apps, and we can give our features through these mobile apps. So when it was open to the third-party developers, there was a huge revolution in mobile industry. Then came Android. Android entry, phone entry was after iOS, right? People thought it will not work because iOS is already there, but then Android made it big. Why? Because Android was open source. What do you mean by open source? The code of Android, the core code of Android was